as we all know, there are some times that Uber and Lyft comes out with an idea and you're like, I don't know if this is a good idea. Like, I don't know what they're really thinking with this idea. Other times, though, you're like, you know what? This actually isn't a bad idea. And in this case, I want to talk about Uber hourly. This is pretty recent. I actually just found out about this a couple days ago. And I'm not going to lie, I was like, you know what? This is actually a pretty genius idea. I love the concept of Uber hourly. I was taking an Uber and it popped up on my screen. This is the screenshot of how it looked. And I remember being like, I've never even gotten this alert before. And when this popped up, I was like, okay, I've never seen this before, but let me look into it. Now, the idea of Uber hourly is you can rent out, as a passenger, the Uber driver and the car, I guess. So basically, you can rent out Uber, so to speak, for a given period of time. I remember on the screen when I was looking at it, it said minimum 2 hours. And as you saw, it was $110 for 2 hours. I actually think this is a great idea, both for passengers and for drivers, because for a passenger, I think this is big, especially for tourists. Like, say you you're coming to LA, right? You want to check out all the touristy stuff here. So you're talking about, like, I don't know, the Walk of Fame, the Griffith Observatory, you want to check out Rodeo Drive, etc., etc. Well, as opposed to getting an Uber and zigzagging all around and ordering it and then, getting dropped off, ordering another one, and the whole process, well, why not get 3 of your friends together and, let's say, I think it was a minimum 2 hours to rent, so let's say it's $110, you each spend about $30 to $40, you have your own private chauffeur, essentially, to bring you around everywhere. That way you can go to all these different sites, check everything out. You don't have to worry about potentially, let's say, getting an Uber to the observatory, which is pretty in a unique location in LA, and not getting Uber out. I think this is a great idea. I remember actually one time, this is years ago, when it did not exist, I was actually driving for Lyft. I was in Boston, and I brought people from Boston to Salem, Massachusetts, and then back down to Boston. And I remember they just kept the ride going. But I remember I drove them there. I just sat in my car and read a book while they were kind of exploring Salem. And I gave them some rides here and there. And then I brought them back. And that was it. And I think that Uber hourly takes advantage of that idea that if you need an Uber for an extended period of time, it's just so much easier. And on the driver's end, one, if let's say it's a surge, pocket, you get that surge. So I do want to say that. But the minimum kind of amount you get is at least $50 an hour. And then anything, on top of that can because of surges or whatever. So if you think about it as a driver, to know that if, let's say, someone orders Uber hourly, I know minimum I'm going to get that $50 deposited in my account. Now, of course, Uber might take out and cut, and then you have taxes and blah, blah, blah. So I do want to say that, I guess. But if you think about it, to know that instantly, compared to doing a bunch of rides and bouncing around, you're going to get at least $50 when it comes to your actual fare, that's pretty awesome. And in addition, if let's say you have, it depends. If you get a bad passenger, that hour or two might creep by. But I feel like for the most part, let's say for a bunch of passengers, they're like, hey, you know what? We're new to this area. Do you mind just bringing us to this place? Do you have any suggestions? A lot of your time, I wouldn't even be surprised if maybe even about half your time, or maybe a little bit less, will just be spent sitting in your car, reading a book, or playing on your phone. Because just like a limo driver, I know for a lot of limo drivers I've talked to, a lot of it is just waiting sometimes. You drive somebody somewhere, you wait 2 or 3 hours, you just hang out, and then you drive them back, right? And it can be the same thing when it comes to Uber hourly. I think this is honestly one of my favorite ideas I've heard from Uber or Lyft yet. I bet Lyft will probably do something similar, because any single time either the apps, creates or brings out a new feature, as long as it's not like something that's patentable, so to speak, the other one copies it pretty much right away, right? It happens pretty quick. So I think Lyft will come out with this, but overall, this is a great idea. Let me know the thing as a driver, if, let's say, you did get an Uber hourly call or a ride, would you accept it? Would you deny it? Would you prefer Uber hourly to have a minimum hourly guarantee that's pretty high? Or would you rather do other rides, right? Because there's pros and cons to both. But overall, I feel like I'd much rather do Uber hourly rides that will probably be higher paying and probably less work, and probably a lot more easygoing as opposed to the chaoticness that can sometimes exist with Uber and Lyft? Let me know what you think in the comments.